Hi, this is Kevin Annett, Eagle Strong Voice. It's the first day of January 2014. We have achieved tremendous things this past year with the International Common Law Court of Justice. For those of you who've forgotten or don't know, last February, our indictment against Joseph Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, and 29 other individuals accused of crimes against humanity, that indictment caused the resignation of Pope Benedict. Not only him, but the top cardinal in Rome, Tarcisio Bertone. This was not only a historic event, but it shows the power of citizen-based tribunals and common law court actions. And I really want to share with people how that demonstrates the power that's in the hands of ordinary citizens. You know, there have been a lot of allegations going around that Pope Benedict resigned because, well, the Jesuits wanted him out anyway. They put in their guy who's in now, Jorge Bergoglio, and it was all just kind of a backroom deal. That's not true. The simplest proof of that is that not only Ratzinger resigned, but Bertone. Now, Bertone, who was the top cardinal in Rome, part of the old Italian mob, the Secretary of the State for the Vatican, and he was a sworn enemy of Ratzinger. He was trying to get Ratzinger out. Now, if they were both, kind of on the same side, it would be understandable, that the old crew would get forced out and a new guy would come in. But these were opponents, and yet both of them stepped down. The only common denominator linking Bertone and Ratzinger was that they were both named in our indictment that began in November 2012. It was a common law court action brought by a legitimate international body, the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State, a citizen-based tribunal of conscience that's recognized under international law. We brought that action last November. We accused Bertone and Ratzinger, the Queen of England, the heads of the Catholic, Anglican, and United Churches, and even the Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper. They were all named as guilty of committing genocide and covering up child trafficking all over the world. Now, when that indictment came in and the verdict came down from 58 citizen jurors, within a couple of weeks, this is not accidental, and we know it's because there was at least one European government that was on the verge of issuing arrest warrants. Okay, so we won't rest on our laurels. We'll recognize the fact that citizens have the power to bring down some of the most powerful heads of state in the world just by standing on the truth. Now, the coming year has even greater prospects lined up because we have been seeing all over the world the growth of common law courts in response to what we're doing, directly in response to what we're doing. To give you an idea of some of them, right now in 21 countries, there's people working with our common law court. In Vermont, there's a common law court convening to strike down fraudulent mortgage actions by realty companies and the government. In New York City, a common law court convening to look into satanic ritual abuse and child trafficking in that part of the world. Kitchener, Ontario in Canada, Steve Finney and Amy Smart are indicting the Crown of England for trafficking children through the Children's Aid Society. It goes on and on. All over the world, Coventry, England, people are occupying Catholic churches and attempting to arrest known child-raping Catholic priests. This is our answer, and the fact that we need to do this is proved last week when William Lynn, who was the one Catholic bishop in America ever to go to jail for harboring and protecting child rapists, he was just let out. After less than 18 months, a court of appeals said that he was a free man now because there was a different standard that applied to church officials than everybody else when it comes to their role in protecting and harboring child rapists. So in other words, the U.S. court has now given official green light to the practice in the Catholic Church of one higher official protecting child rapists among their priests. Now that, of course, is a Vatican policy to do that, but the U.S. court system today has affirmed that that's okay with them. That proves that citizens in America and all over the world need their own courts to protect our children, to indict these people and say they do not have the right to walk the streets or stand in pulpits and preach out of a false church that somehow raping children is acceptable. Now, it's not just the common law court that's happening. The Crown of England and the Vatican were declared transnational criminal bodies this past year. That means that under the law, their property and wealth and authority is all forfeited. Now that has tremendous repercussions for any Commonwealth country. It means there is no valid authority anymore. The laws are struck down. They are being perpetrated under the authority of convicted felons. In this case, Elizabeth Windsor, Queen of England, Stephen Harper, Prime Minister of Canada, and all those levels of church and state that we've been talking about. So the thing to recognize now is not just under the laws of God are these authorities null and void because of their harming of children and their betrayal of their own faith, if you like. But under human laws, these authorities are null and void, and so we need to recovenant. We need to create new legal systems to bring about legitimate authority, because that legitimate authority doesn't exist anymore. When the heads of state and church and corporations are open criminals, trafficking our children, destroying the earth, and doing everything possible to negate our liberties and attack us, we're in a state of war, and the legal and political systems do not have authority over us when they've reneged on their contractual obligation to us to defend our liberties. When they intend to do that and show that they're doing that, then all agreements with them are null and void. We now need to recovenant on a new basis, and this is the new opening that's happening in our work. We're not just condemning the old system. We are not trying to salvage the old world. We're giving birth to a new world, a world based on covenant relationships, first between God and men and women, and then among men and women, covenanting in new relationships. That is the only basis for legitimate authority anymore. That's the challenge of what we're doing now. So in other words, our liberties, our survival as a people is now in all of your hands. It's not about lobbying a politician or hoping the church is going to wake up and act morally. These are fallen institutions and they're going down. And it's been predicted, prophesied for many centuries, that a time will come when a great separation happens in the human race. Those who stand under God's law, the natural law of justice, and those who are part of a fallen and falling order. It's now time for everyone to choose. And we in the International Common Law Court of Justice, in the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State, and in covenanted congregations that are forming as alternatives to these fallen, false Christian churches, in all of those movements, we are asserting those liberties for the sake of our children and ourselves. So I would just want to welcome us into this new year, to urge people again to get on board with our work, ITCCS.org, write to us, ITCCScentral@gmail.com, and continue to take this action to defend our liberties, our world, because only in our hands does that future lie. I want to thank you all. We'll be talking to you very soon, and I will be on the road during January and onwards, going all over North America and then to Europe, and then beyond that to Asia throughout 2014 to build our common law movement that will reclaim our earth and bring about a new heaven and a new earth. I thank you all.